Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look back at the second jewel of racing's Triple Crown here in the United States in 2023, the Grade 1 Preakness at Pimlico going 1 mile and 3/16. Mage won the Kentucky Derby. He's back for the Preakness. He breaks from post position 3, and Mage breaks well, and that's news, Mike.
It was nice to see him get out of the gate this time, Dan. It had been an issue for him. Even in the Kentucky Derby, it was a bit of an issue for him. In the Derby, it didn't really make that much of a difference because the pace was so fast. Here, this was a real opportunity for Javier Castellano to take advantage of a clean start because they are going to walk on the lead in this race, and Castellano is not aggressive at all.
You see him settling into the pocket as National Treasure and John Velasquez make the lead. Velasquez had never won the Preakness before, and he used the clock in his head to slow down this pace, Mike. They're walking. Coffee with Chris, who's an outsider to be sure, is merely putting token pressure while Blazing Sevens is hung out 3 wide.
Yeah, there's no pressure here. Nobody's going in this race. National Treasure, you can just rewind it and go watch him run through the stretch the first time, Dan. He's under a hammerlock and nobody's going with him. You saw the first quarter, which was basically 24. This is going to be a middle half here up the backstretch and into the turn. They're going to go almost 50 seconds here, Dan, in a major classic race for 3-year-olds, and everybody's just happy to sit with 2 handfuls of horse while a Baffert runner controls the pace.
How slow is this pace? The confirmed closer, Red Route 1, who we expected to be far back and last, actually passed Mage for a brief moment down on the inside for third. We're heading into the turn. Mage is starting to get a little bit of momentum here on the outside. Blazing Sevens is trying now to force National Treasure's hand. It's a full-on sprint for home. Mage is going to come up flat. The 2 up in front of him are going to put on a show the final 3/16.
Yeah, they're going to duel here. It looks like even Blazing Sevens might get ahead in front, and Irad is going to keep coming over here to try to put more pressure on National Treasure, just forcing him down towards the inside. National Treasure has plenty left, though he went so slow early that he's going to fight back here. I actually don't feel like Mage flattened out that much, Dan. He held his position from about the 5/16 all the way down to the wire. He didn't lose any ground. He just couldn't gain any. These were horses that were sprinting home with plenty left in the tank in front of him, and he could not gain ground on them.
It was run like a turf race, and in those situations, closers just have a lot to make up when they sprint on home, as Mike mentions, and they come home quickly. All in all, Mage ran just fine, especially considering that he banged his head supposedly the night before the race and required stitches. This is a horse that's not going to be pointing for the Belmont. It appears they're going for the Travers.
Yeah, I don't know that I would, get too up in arms over that, Dan. This horse, he's still so lightly raced. You'd have to remember that he was 2 life eligible into the Kentucky Derby, wound up winning that race. He ran fine here, I thought, in the Preakness without, the most clever ride in the world. And I think that really cost him at the end. I don't really have any problem with them not pressing on for the Belmont. This horse still has a long way to go. And it does feel like even after this performance, Dan, feels like he's getting better with every race.
Chad Brown almost pulled the trick off again, skipping the Derby, pointing to the Preakness and getting it done with Blazing Sevens, who continued his progression here in 2023. He didn't run well in his seasonal debut. He improved slightly in the Bluegrass. He ran much better here considering he lost ground to the winner on the first turn. He was behind that horse and he had to put up quite a fight on the outside.
Yeah, improved. I guess he improved again here, Dan. And if nothing else, he showed that, a little bit of added distance maybe isn't a real issue for this horse because 1 3/16. I don't think the distance got him beat in this race. He ran fine in here. I still only think he was second best. He was, relatively close attendance to a really, really slow pace. I understand anybody who wants to say, all right, well, he was 3 wide on both turns and the winner was on the rail on both turns. And that's all you need to do to reverse this decision. That's fine. I won't argue it too much. I still thought Blazing Sevens had a real chance to win this race. He was second best.
It appears that Brown will skip the Belmont and point for the Jim Dandy and a summer-fall campaign. Joel Rosario seemed to sense at least the slow pace on Red Route 1, and he did everything he could to get this horse into the race. This is a horse that's usually 13, 15 lengths out of it. Rosario had Red Route 1 in front of Mage after 5/8 of a mile, but sometimes you just have to have enough under the hood, and that's probably not Red Route 1's running style. He will run in the Belmont, according to Steve Asmussen, and maybe he's a bit of a sleeper.
That's I like the way that you put that, though, Dan. I mean, Rosario was the one guy in this race who, once they got into the backstretch, was like, well, the way this is playing out in front of me, I have no chance with the horse I'm riding. So at least he realized it. He moved up into position in this race. And as you've already mentioned, he just didn't have the horse underneath him to be a real factor in this race. At the end of the day, Red Route won. He just isn't that good. But at least Rosario gave him a chance to win in this race. And that, to me, that's not the case with Mage.
Let's take a look at our winner, National Treasure. He's a son of Quality Roller. He sold for $500,000 as a Saratoga yearling. It's Baffert, it's Velasquez. It's a large partnership of owners. 98 Buyers speed figure for his win in the Preakness. Baffert's indicating he's going to Belmont, going to try the 1.5 miles. This race was a pace-aided score. I think we have to be honest with that, but this is also a horse that showed a lot of potential as a 2-year-old. He was third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile behind the two best 2-year-olds in the country at that point. And certainly you could make the argument he was a bit dirtied up coming into this race.
Yeah, I mean, you could. And listen, if nothing else, and all the other stuff you said is right. I mean, this horse has been pretty good right from the start. We already talked about Mage being 2-life eligible when he won the Derby. This horse was 2-life eligible on the way to the Preakness. He's run fine in his races. I don't think anybody really considered him, or looked at him as one of the best 3-year-olds in this crop. Not that it's a super strong crop. Everything worked to his advantage in this race, Dan. Not only did nobody show up for this race, it was one of the worst Preakness fields that we've seen in an awful long time. Then you get a horse who, probably would have been a factor in here, who was the second choice in the morning line, doesn't even make it to the starting gate, and it waters down the field even more. And then this horse breaks from the rail, makes a lead without even having to try to get it, and has something left in the stretch to hold on. He ran fine in here. It doesn't, make me feel like he's one of the best 3-year-olds out there right now.
Taking a look at the prices for the Preakness. Second choice in the wagering. National Treasure returns $7.80 to win. He fended off the stretch-long presence of Blazing Sevens. Mage ran just fine for third, considering the way the race flow panned out. National Treasure got away with kind of a glacial pace up front. He was very game in the stretch, though, when Blazing Sevens was herding him down towards the inside. It'll be interesting to see how National Treasure fares going 1.5 miles at Belmont Park in 3 weeks.